If you're born a Muslim, you will be run by Muslim law. If you're born a non-Muslim, you'll be run in the normal way that everyone else in the country is. The Archbishop, it's extraordinary we've got to this stage, but the Archbishop, in promoting Sharia law, apart from the fact he should resign, has made life incredibly difficult for progressive Muslims in this country who want to object to Sharia, and he's made it vastly easier for the extremists to see there's something they can get if they hold on long enough.
Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you are feeling good. Today we'll be checking out another video from Douglas Murray titled Douglas Murray vs. Tariq Ramadan on Sharia law legislation in UK. Wow. I believe this is going to be an interesting one. Let's start with the video. Go.
In this country, we're joined by Douglas Murray of the Centre for Social Cohesion. From Rotterdam by Professor Tariq Ramadan of Oxford University. And the Bishop of Hume is still with us from Manchester. Professor Ramadan, is there any head of steam in the Muslim community here, serious head of steam for the introduction of Sharia law?
Look, no, I don't think that you will find, Muslim organizations and Muslim leaders asking for something which has to do with Sharia law. But what we have to do first is really to define what we are talking about. I really think, having, followed the whole discussion around the Archbishop of Canterbury, that what we are saying now, what he said, is unfair. He was not at all, and he knows exactly what he is speaking about when he is referring to Sharia law. He's not talking about, cutting heads, and this is not what he's talking about. He was talking mainly about family laws within the British system. Yes. And I think that now we are just saying things about him which are not fair. So I want to start with this, because knowing his discourse, I really think that all this controversy is not at all in tune with his spirit and the way he's looking at things.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come to the interpretation in a second or two, if we may.
No, but I think it's really important.
Hang on, let me just bring in Douglas Murray here.
It's really important for us. Let me just answer your question.
I'm sorry, I'm going to bring Douglas Murray here, because there's another important qualification which he accepted in his lecture, which was that the jurisdiction of these courts, in whatever form they existed, would clearly only apply to people who accepted the authority of the court, who were believers, in other words.
Well, let's take it like this. Thanks to the Archbishop's comments, if he saw what he wants to see, a Muslim girl born in this country would, because she was born to a Muslim family, be treated in her courts, in Sharia courts in this country, as being worth half the worth of testifying of her non-Muslim neighbour. That is what would happen. We would be ghettoizing people into implying that if you're born a Muslim, you will be run by Muslim law. If you're born a non-Muslim, you'll be run in the normal way that everyone else in the country is. The Archbishop, it's extraordinary we've got to this stage, but the Archbishop, in promoting Sharia law, apart from the fact he should resign, has made life incredibly difficult for progressive Muslims in this country who want to object to Sharia, and he's made it vastly easier for the extremists to see there's something they can get if they hold on long enough.
At the very least, Bishop, what he's done is to enable Muslims in this country to say, look, we don't accept your legal system. There are better systems. There's the Word of God as revealed in Sharia law, and the Archbishop of Canterbury tells us so.
Well, that's exactly what he didn't say in the lecture, and those of us who read it, and I think you've read it, Jeremy, from the sound of things, actually would acknowledge that he identified very clearly the issues of injustice that were in certain aspects of Sharia law, which this country would want nothing to do with, and that our legal system would have to make quite clear that there were values within our legal system which would mean that certain aspects of, for example, the treatment of women had to be dealt with properly by
this is not to do with the 95% of Sharia which its apologists say is not to do with hand chopping. The issue of Sharia, which I don't know if you're familiar with this, but if you're dealing with Sharia in this case, it is dictated in the Quran, in the second book of the Quran, that women are worth half that of men. Now, if you want to have a parallel legal system in this country which throws out the rights accomplishments of this country, runs roughshod over them, and decides that women are worth half of you, then I resent the fact that you're trying to speak for anyone, let alone Christians.
Have you actually read the lecture, and did you see in the lecture?
I read the lecture, and I found out what I could from it, and I listened to the interview he gave, in which, might I add, in his interview, he said that it was wrong that everyone should be treated under the same rule of law in this country. He said that there were problems from that. I don't think there are problems from that. I think that's one of the best accomplishments we've got, that everyone is equal before the law. And the head of your church is saying saying that it should be different?
No, the head of the church is saying that there are certain aspects of the different cultural, religious traditions of our society which should be respected, if at all possible, within our legal system. For example, is it not right that, that men and women can be married in the mosques as they are in synagogues, as they are in churches and chapels? Is it not right, for example, and our society is already adapted to this, that aspects of the Muslim approach towards money and finance should be accommodated within our system? And we've actually adopted our financial laws in order to enable that to
Exactly, it's
happen.
already been accommodated.
Yes, but that's one aspect, and we've done it. So we've already taken aspects of Sharia law into this country.
Seconds out. Tariq Ramadan, can you just tell us, what effect has this controversy, or what effect is it beginning to have in the Muslim community?
Look, first, the Muslims and the Muslim organizations are not asking for a parallel system. They are law-abiding, and there is room for us to remain Muslims and fully Muslims within the legal British system, and there is no problem. Within this system,
can I just ask you on a question of, can I ask you on a question of fact? Apostasy, denying the faith, is punishable by death under Sharia law, isn't it?
No, look, once again, you are is
that true or not? Is it true or not?
Can I answer? Because you are asking question, and when Murray is talking, you let him talk, and when I am talking, you don't let me finish.
Well, then I suggest you answer the question, please.
I'm answering the question, telling you that you are following in the footsteps of Mr. Murray, coming with a perception of Sharia that it's monolithic and there is no room for interpretations. Your understanding of apostasy is not the only Islamic answer, and I and others, the Mufti of Egypt recently said, you know, that you can change your religion and you are not going to be killed. So don't come with something which is a simplistic definition of Sharia, and do what Murray is doing, which is using this controversy to nurture an Islamophobic discourse.
Right.
The people around us. This is exactly what you are doing, Mr.
Do you think
Murray.
it's Islamophobic to point out that we think that women should be treated equally to men?
Let me finish. Let me finish. The people should understand, and our fellow citizens should understand, that the Muslims are not asking for a parallel system, and there are many interpretations relating to Sharia, and it's much more open than that, and don't come with something which is a superficial discourse. I'm sorry to say,
Suhaib Hassan was on the television last week, last Sunday night.
Not acceptable.
Last Sunday night, Suhaib Hassan from the Islamic Sharia Courts of Britain was on the televisions across this country on Channel 4 saying that he would like in the end for people to be flogged, beheaded, hands chopped off, all that stuff. We know that's where it leads, Mr. Ramadan. We know where it leads.
You are using the controversy to spread fears in the British society.
There is a good reason to be fearful of Sharia, Mr. Ramadan.
Let's just take this back. Before we argue about interpretations of Sharia, and this is one of the many problems, as even you acknowledge, Mr. Ramadan, there are so many interpretations. The key to this is a belief somehow that hundreds of years of removing religion from the legal process of this country should somehow be reversed. And that's a thing that's very hard for a lot of people to take.
No, nobody is asking this. You know, the great majority of the Muslims are saying something else. When, for example, in the British law, there is justice for everything, for everyone, equality before law. This is our Sharia. We don't have a problem with this. When you are telling me, and I'm telling you, I'm respecting the British law, because within the British law, there is equality before law. This is our Sharia. So don't come with a nurture this perception that we have a closed system which is against the British system. This is simply not true for the great majority of the Muslims living in Britain and in Europe. This is not true. This is what people like Murray are using to build walls between the people and nurturing a rejection of Muslims.
It is the case, is it not, that there are all sorts of exemptions that people are entitled to on the profession of religious belief. For example, doctors being required to perform abortions can object on religious grounds. There are all sorts of religious institutions, quasi-religious courts in this country. The Jews have them, for example. Why shouldn't the Muslims?
We should clear up this for a start, which the Archbishop of Canterbury has also got wrong, which is that Jewish courts in this country are, first of all, informal, and secondly, voluntary. They do not have any rights that supersede or stand equal to British law. The Sharia notion is that it stands not only equal, but superior to British law. The Jews have just been thrown out by the Archbishop of Canterbury
nobody is asking this.
as something as
You
something
are
which is a
inventing.
sacrifice to the rest of it. This is a totally different thing. This, if you want to throw Islamophobia around for Mr. Ramadan, let's talk about the anti-Semitism of the notion that you say, oh, well, we will give the Sharia
Hang on, guys. Just both of you, hold on a second or two. Bishop, you can have the last word.
I'm just appalled, really, about how the whole debate has been now caricatured, really, of what it was actually about in the first place. The Archbishop of Canterbury, as the religious leader of this country, actually brought an issue to an intellectual discussion about the whole issue of the way in which one community and its culture was being treated, and there were issues within that culture which needed addressing in relation to equality compared with other religious organisations like the church and so on.
All right, chaps, thanks
and
very
now
much
it's
indeed.
all run away.
Thank you.
These are words
Thank
of
you.
wisdom.
Wow. What an interesting debate. You can tell this was really, really heated. Wow. Just by the title, Douglas Murray vs. Tariq Ramadan on Sharia law legislation in UK. Wow. And you can tell Douglas Murray has stated his facts. Tariq Ramadan has also stated his facts. But I feel so, I don't know how to express this. I don't expect a bishop should say something like that, if you are born a Muslim, you should be treated within the Sharia law. And if you are born a Christian, you should be treated with the British law. I'm really surprised that a bishop is saying something like that. So I don't know what the bishop mean by that. Is he trying to support Sharia law? Or is he trying to support Sharia law legislation in the UK? So I'm very surprised that a bishop will say something like that. Despite the fact that I believe he's trying to talk for the Muslim people. He's trying to give the Muslim people room to be treated just as every other citizen. But I feel the statement is really unacceptable. How could you say something like that, that you want, if you are, say something like that if you are born a Muslim, that you should be treated with the Sharia law? And I believe all Muslims don't share that view, because I believe few percentage of Muslim population, they are in support of Sharia law. But I also believe that all Muslims don't want Sharia law to be legislated in the UK, knowing how the law is very, very, very strict. You can imagine, according to the law, that if you are a Muslim and you decide to denounce Islam and go to another religion, that you can be killed for that. And the last time I was hearing one Muslim speaker talking about Sharia law being legislated in the UK, he gave some certain points that if Sharia law is legislated in UK, that UK will become more peaceful, that UK citizen will become more abiding citizen. And he gave some example by, I think, mentioning some Islamic countries that practice the Sharia law, and he claimed those countries that there is less crime rate, that if Sharia law can also be legislated in the UK, that a lot of crimes will be reduced. Then I think he gave example of some of the laws in the Sharia law, that if you commit an adultery, that you are supposed to be stoned to death. And if you commit fornication, you are supposed to be flogged 100, you are supposed to be brought to the public and flogged 100 lashes of cane. And we can all tell that this law is very strict. I believe not just the Christian, even the Muslim, even some few population of the Muslim, they are not in support of the Sharia law. So I'm very, very surprised that a bishop, a Christian bishop, is uttering such statements that Muslims should be treated with Sharia law. If you are born within Islam community, that you should be treated with the Sharia law. So I feel that is totally unacceptable. And I feel that a lot of these Islam fundamentalists, Islam extremists, are going to use that as an opportunity to push the Sharia law forward, so it can be legislated in the UK. And we know that Sharia law is very strict. And I don't think Sharia law should be a law that should be legislated in the UK. And according to Douglas Murray and the other speaker, the point they were giving that in Sharia law, if you leave the religion, that you are supposed to be killed. And you can imagine people being killed because they try to express their freedom of religion. They try to choose a religion that they feel is good for them. Imagine people being killed for that. I feel that is totally unacceptable. And there are also some laws that I feel that are really very strict, just like the law of adultery. If you commit adultery, you are supposed to be stoned to death. And if you commit fornication, you are supposed to be flogged 100 lashes of cane in public. And we all know that Sharia law does not promote equality of gender, just like the point Douglas Murray gave, that a woman is treated as half of a man, which means for a woman to be able to defend herself in court or to bear witness of an incident, you need to get two women to stand in place as one man, which I believe is not fair. It's not promoting equality. And that's what Douglas Murray is talking about, that for a bishop to say something like that is totally unacceptable. That means he's promoting Sharia law indirectly and giving the extremists and the extremists within Islam, giving them the opportunity for them to be able to push the motion forward for Sharia law to be legislated in UK. And I believe that is totally unacceptable. If you are in a country and you feel you can't abide by the country's culture, you can't abide by the country's tradition, you can't abide by the country's value system, it's better you go to an Islam country, go to a Muslim country where no one will question your action. So I believe British as a nation has its own identity. UK has its own identity. And we all know that British identity is embodied and rooted in British culture, is embodied in British tradition, is embodied in British value system. So if you are coming into a country, you should be able to adjust yourself to accommodate the people's culture, to accommodate the people's belief, to accommodate the people's value system. So I'm surprised a bishop is saying something like that. That means is indirectly promoting Sharia law, is indirectly talking to the government to legislate Sharia law in UK, which I believe that is totally unacceptable. And according to Tariq Ramadan point of view, he's saying that the Muslims are not pushing for Sharia law to be legislated in UK. And he also made a statement that Sharia law is closely the same with British law, that the way British law is, that what they are seeing in British law is the same thing they have in Sharia law, which I find difficult to believe. If you are telling me what we are seeing in British law is the same thing as what we are seeing in the Sharia law, that means you are indirectly saying British law does not promote equality, which I believe that is totally unacceptable, because that's the statement he just made, that the British law is almost closely the same with the Sharia law, because what they have in the British law is the same thing as what they have in the Sharia law, which I find totally absurd, and I believe that's not true. And he also said he also mentioned a statement that Douglas is trying to translate the Sharia law out of context, is simplifying the translation. I don't know how else you want Douglas to translate the Sharia law, because it is what is written that Douglas is stating. Because I believe the fact Douglas have mentioned that talk about you living Islam, that you can be killed for that, and some other laws in the Sharia law that does not promote equality of women. I believe that's what Douglas is stating, and Tariq Ramadan is saying that Douglas is not translating the law very well. That Douglas is simplifying the law. How else can Sharia law be translated from what is written in the Sharia law? So I don't really understand that, but I understand Tariq Ramadan's view that not all Muslims are promoting that Sharia law should be legislated. And he also mentioned a point that Sharia law that Douglas is translating is simplifying the translation. I don't know if Sharia law has a different translation. I don't know if Sharia law can be translated. If the law is saying, if the law is saying if you commit adultery, you should be stoned to death, and the law is also stating that if you leave Islam, that you should be killed. If you commit adultery, you should be flogged 100 lashes of cane. That is what the law is saying. So how else can you translate what has been written in the law? Is there a different translation for Sharia law apart from what has been written? Because I believe if Sharia law is stating that if you commit adultery, you should be stoned to death, that is what is written. Is there another translation for that? I don't really know. So I've really learned a lot just listening to Douglas Murray and listening to the other speaker, listening to Tariq Ramadan, and I believe that Sharia law should not be legislated in the UK, because I believe a lot of people are going to go through a lot if it's legislated. And I believe what the bishop also said, I believe the bishop shouldn't have said that. I didn't really expect that from someone that called himself a bishop. I'm really surprised that that word is coming out from a bishop. So I would like to hear your comments. Let's get the conversation rolling. Do you think Sharia law should be legislated in the UK? Keep the comments coming. Don't forget, click on the subscribe button, click on the like button. Do have a nice day.